This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com. Hey everybody, it's your old pal Rob. I hope you guys are doing well, checking to make sure my new microphone's on. And of course they'll be buzzing in the background because the air conditioning goes off when I turn that on. What can I tell you? I just came in from doing some things out on the farm and I figured I'd get all my taping done. The cows are doing pretty good. Elsie's eye is still a little this, that, and the other, but by the time you see this, we hope to have this all cleared up. So today's video is actually going to be something that I thought about, and I'm going to tell you a little story that goes with this, and we're going to try to wing this, and I think it's kind of more natural if I do it this way. I make lists for everything. I usually sit there and think at some point because I have a lot of time, and I'll come up with lists of things, and I will make a video of that. Well, I was thinking about some of the most influential and top games of this century, this new century, all right? The first 22 years, okay? Almost 23 years of this century, and the games that have made a big impact. Remember, we are in a special age of board gaming, and it started kind of back, I mean, board gaming's been around for forever, but you really started to see that growth around the early 2000s into where we are now. Where it's kind of a train wreck with everything that's going on. Well, here's the thing. I started thinking about some of the games that are influential, and I wrote them all out. Wrote this huge list. I must have had about 50 games. And I said, you know something, there's no way I can put these in order, but maybe I can come up with a top 10. I couldn't even do that. But I had the list there, and I said, well, you know something, I'm going to read these off, and I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to make sure that we talk about it, and then I'll see what what people say. Well, guess what? I lost that list. I went looking for it just now, and I don't know where it went. So you know what we're going to do? I'm going to talk about the games that I feel are the most influential of this recent century, okay, in the last 22 years. And I'm going to do it off the top of my head, because that is truly what I feel are the games that have really had an influence on today's gaming. And the first one off the top of my head, and these are in no particular order, but we have to look at the coin games. I'm writing it down so I can kind of put something up in the corner there. The coin games. How can you not? I don't think wargaming would be the way it is now, where it's kind of branching over into regular gaming and people are finding this very unique balance, if it wasn't for the coin games, okay, that have come out in the last couple of years. And I had the years all next to all of them. Oh, it would have been such a beautiful video, but oh well. And I believe the coin games, of course, started in the 2000s here, and the influence that Volko has had on this tremendous industry, what he's done for board gaming in general. You take like a person like Candace and how these games have really influenced her, and she's been able to spread this to even more people. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing, taking different battles and insurrections and making them come to life, and people learning things. And I think that's a fantastic, fantastic thing. And it really sets a standard, and you have to mention the coin games and their fantastic influence, Labyrinth and everything that's come with it, the Fire in the Lake, and I can just sit here and name a billion of them all day long, but coin games is one of those. Another one that pops in my head is Agricola, okay, and that game. It was one of the first games that I played at Dice Tower all those years ago. And people, sat down and said, you want to play this? And it was a very heavy Euro game, but it was a work for placement game. And it really set the standard and really set the standard for Euro games. And I think its popularity and the impact that this game has had is absolutely mind-blowing. And what a fantastic, fantastic game, and the influence that this game has had, and the things that it does, and how well it does it. Another influential game. The zombie craze. You know, you want to talk Walking Dead and all that stuff. Well, how can we do any of it without Zombicide? I think Zombicide really kind of... See, I'm writing these down as we do it. Zombicide really stands out. Yeah, you could say zombies, but I don't think, you know, things really went as crazy as it did until that. And until that Zombicide, and it just absolutely just kind of took over there, and all the different variations of it. You know, from Zombicide, you got all these other wonderful games. Of course, you know, there was Dawn of the Zed, and you know, which, you know, you have to make mention of. I mean, how can you not make mention of Dawn of the Zed also, as an you know, a Herman Luttman game, who has to be looked at as someone that's just done some amazing things. Richard Launius and Arkham Horror. You know, we could say Eldritch Horror and all that other stuff, but you wouldn't have had it without Richard's Arkham Horror. And you know, we have to talk about that. I think how strong that game is, and the difference that made. Okay, where would we be now in the Cthulhu universe without Richard Launius and his great mind? Arkham Horror, absolutely fantastic, and we have to give him all the credit in the world. A complete, utter genius, and I love him for it, of course. You know, I think a really groundbreaking worker placement game is Waterdeep. I mean, how do we leave that off? You know, and everything that did. Waterdeep, I you know, was one of the first ones that I really played, and I was just completely blown away by. Waterdeep, very influential. Dominion, okay. How do we not put Dominion on this? You know, deck building. Where would deck building be without Dominion? I mean, honestly, another fantastic, wonderful, fantastic, glorious game. You know, and all its influence and all the things that it's done. Dominion stands out. You know, there have been so many deck buildings and games that have done things differently and more interesting themes. But for me, you have to look at Dominion, and you have to call that the, you know, probably one of the most influential. Dungeon crawls, boy, you know, it's kind of hard to leave these two off, and they come to mind. You know, there have been so many great, especially this year with Oathsworn and Chronicles of Drungar and Dungeon Universalis. They've taken things and taken them and ran with it. Massive Darkness 2. You know, all the things that they are doing and taking and are running a certain way. But when you start thinking, and I have to think of these two variances, and I want you guys to, you know, to really think about this as well. You have to consider Descent, okay? You know, one of the all-time greats. Whether it's the first version, second version, or third version, whichever one you feel hits you hard in your soul, you have to look at that as one of the, you know, one of the most groundbreaking dungeon crawlers out there for the modern age. I mean, we can go to 1995, but that's you know, Warhammer Quest and Hero Quest. They got the ball rolling, but to bring it mainstream, and I really mean mainstream, it's Descent. When Fantasy Flight was at full power, it is one of the most influential, because people looked at that and said, wow, I can do this in a small box, no problem. Add a whole bunch of miniatures, no problem. And boom, look where we are today. I think the dungeon crawler that kind of brings in everybody and has a big story to it, I think you also have to say Gloomhaven. A lot of people hate it, but you cannot take away from its superpower and how its Euro feel has brought in people from the outside in and done so many different things. It does just a lot of fantastic things well, and it does it great. It's not for everybody, but you cannot escape the power that it has. And with Frosthaven coming, strap up, folks. I'm sure this could be another great one, and they're going to do a great job with it. And those people that have decided to do more, I mean, how can you not acknowledge that? I think you've got to add, Eric Lang and his Blood Rage. The other ones were good, but Blood Rage, people still talk about that as one of their, one of the most unique games and theme games, and that trifecta there. But Blood Rage, everybody always goes back to Blood Rage and talks about Blood Rage and how influential that game is, and all the other games that have spawned off from that and created all kinds of different things from it. I think that is a game that just absolutely sits out there and really is groundbreaking. Shadows of Brimstone, you have to kind of add that in there as far as the epic. The big one. You cannot, you could put that in with your dungeon crawler as well. That and its massive story, Weird West, Wild Wild West, and things that has influenced. Again, going off the top of your head, it's not always the easiest thing. But there have just been so many unique games that have come along and have spawned so many different things and done so many things just fantastically and well. It's kind of hard to deny. And I've just scratched the surface. I had like hundreds in this list. But I really kind of would love to hear what you guys think. What you guys feel are a couple of the games that are very influential in this century, things that have changed the way gaming is done, how things are done, how games are played together. How do you discount Werewolf, okay, which is a favorite every night at a convention, and the things that does. Okay, and people getting together. Twilight Imperium, how do you discount that? For, you're talking about grand space epics. Okay, this is a game that still holds up and has such a great cult following that it's loved beyond words. And you have to keep Twilight Imperium in there. You think about a lot of these games and where they came from. Fantasy Flight, boy, in the day, they were a monster. And they were super powered, and they just done things that were just groundbreaking beyond human belief. Ticket to Ride. How do you discount one of the greatest train games of all time? Okay, the guy and some of the things that he said at the convention that time, well, that's a whole different story. But you cannot discount the power of this game, Ticket to Ride. People have problems with Catan, but I think you have to lump that in there. I'm not sure of the date. Maybe it was pre. I might be wrong. I might be right. But, how do you discount this game? I could cheat and pull up my phone right now, but I'm not going to do it. I'm doing it from the top of my head. But I'm anxious to hear what you have to say. What are your thoughts? How do you feel that things would go? Where does this go with you? I'm anxious to find out. I'm anxious to hear. Let me know in the comments. Those are just some of my thoughts. And as always, folks, until next time, it's your old pal Rob. We'll see you soon, everybody.